Hey guys, this is Champion of Clarity, and today I want to talk about being too nice, or yeah, people say being the nice guy or the nice girl. And I will say this initially. So there's nothing inherently wrong with being nice. Like, let's not get it twisted. But I'm just using the term that you hear a lot in society about, being just too nice or you're too giving, stuff like that. Like you're a people pleaser. And how that in particular can work against you. Like, obviously, we know that can work against us because of how it's portrayed in society, but a lot of times people don't really look deeper to actually understand why people behave in ways that when they're too nice, they kind of let people get over them or don't have a lot of confidence in themselves. And that's why I want to talk about this topic today. And just like anything in moderation, I'm not going to say just go out and be miserable and just kick everybody you meet in the shin. But again, I'm going to talk about what it's like to be too nice and how, at least for me, I'm learning to try to correct those behaviors when it starts becoming detrimental to me. And there's not going to be any one way to fix it. I look a lot at self improvement stuff on like YouTube and just on media, and a lot of people might give you their 10-step, 5-step plan to improving your life. And honestly, all of us individuals are different. There is no direct answer to your own situation or your traumas that may have potentially caused you to act a certain way in your life. So don't think just because you're listening to me that you have to do exactly what I say. You can still come up with a solution on your own because, again, it's your own trauma that you're dealing with. And you have to kind of look into yourself and look at the root cause of why you do certain things in order to actually start solving. You can't just start putting a mask on top of it. Just like meditate, like just suddenly meditating is not going to all of a sudden fix your problem unless you get to the root of it. Like suddenly reading 5 books a day is not going to get you ahead in life. Like you have to coach the root cause of the problem. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back to the original topic. But still I do promote healthy habits. It's just you don't have to you don't have to be forced to every single healthy habit people say out there if it doesn't fit you. But regardless, I'm speaking about this in more of a term where people are more people pleasing and validating other people to their own detriment. And it's something that I've talked about in one of my really early videos back before I started cooking, but I wanted to further elaborate on this. I think it was called something about like taking the mask off or something. I can't remember. So for the longest time, I've always been people pleaser, and I've been really timid, despite how I look. 'Cause I know I'm a big buff black dude, so you can't really judge a book by its cover. There doesn't mean I'm not going to defend myself now. It's just I'm pretty gentle, and with that, I was never used to conflict or confrontation, and whenever something would come up, even a slight disagreement, I would be quick to defer and invalidate my own needs, my own point and mindset or interest just because people didn't like what I was talking about or didn't agree with it. And for example, like imagine you're talking to somebody and you mention something that you like cookies and cream ice cream or something silly. We're not going to get into any big topics because it's very subjective, but I'm just giving you a small example. So say you like something and somebody doesn't like it. It's like, well, I really like this, and somebody's like, well, I don't like it. That sucks. And in my mind, how I used to process it was that like they don't like something that I like. And if I like something they don't like, then they won't like me because of that. So I have to find a way to agree with them to keep them to like me, even though I low key still like the thing they don't like. I said like 10 times in there. And so the initial habit would be lying and trying to find a way to agree with that person instead of standing my ground and just simply being like, well, that's your opinion, but I'm gonna still like cookies and cream ice cream, even though you think the flavor sucks. And so instead of that, it would be more like I would just feel the pressure for some reason for disagreeing and feeling like they won't like me and just end up going like, well, I guess it does. But in the back of my mind, I still like it. So and so essentially, just to get someone else's approval and keep their approval, I have lied to myself and to that person about my own likes, even though I just said I like something. I said I disliked it just so that way I can satisfy them and their needs. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to being too nice. And in reality, you're not really being nice to yourself by lying about something that you actually genuinely like. And you're also lying to that person, so you're not being nice to them really either. You're just using it as a coping mechanism to avoid conflict. And people take the word stand your ground way too seriously, at least in this context. I'm aware that a lot of times it's used like, or what used to be used like in actual battle and combat. But in this context, not every disagreement is going to be a battle or has to be a battle. Just because you disagree with somebody doesn't mean they're your enemy or they suddenly won't like you. But as someone who has been too nice or the nice guy most of his life, and to look back on my life to see where that started or where that stems from, because honestly, a lot of times you won't really be able to solve something unless you actually find out the root cause, find out the source of why you feel that way. And it's not easy. It's not easy to just simply look back, and it's hard. It's stressful, it's traumatic. You think about your past traumas and it starts getting really overwhelming. And some things is really hard to think about. I can imagine people have been through worse than me. For me, I think back to me being a pretty lonely kid and being used to being rejected just about from anything, like from like most notably, I remember being the kid starting off in gym. Nobody would pick me to be on like their dodgeball team, and nobody would invite me out anywhere to go to any like birthday parties, and that just kind of continued on, and I started developing a lot of self-deprecating behavior. And I'm not going to blame it on them. I never actually bothered to socialize and was definitely the lonely kid for a long part of my life, and just started getting edgy and go like, I don't like people because people don't like me, and because of all that rejection and whatnot. I'm not saying everything is under your control. Like, everything wasn't under my control in those particular situations, but at the same time, I know I was very much used to rejection. So when somebody would show me just even like a little bit of the tiniest bit of love or the tiniest bit of like acceptance, I would find a way to keep that person no matter what. But even if they start developing bad habits and things I don't agree with. And in reality, all you're doing when you start developing that, and it's not something you're just going to immediately just realize, especially as a kid, but what you're doing is you're not respecting yourself and probably losing whatever respect you have from the people you're actually talking to, whether you're a man, woman, or person. Like, you'll try to agree with them, try to keep them in your life, agree with everything they say just to make sure they like you, because not like losing the few people that accepted you is probably worse than anything. And having that mindset makes you really malleable and really vulnerable, and people that can take advantage of that mindset, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. Some people just, when you start being overly submissive, some people just will naturally take advantage of that. And it sucks because you're trying to do what you feel like is good for you to keep the people that made you feel like you were finally accepted, but you don't have the self-respect or confidence in yourself to actually be able to fight back, not fight back, but more so be able to speak up whenever something happens you don't like or somebody does something you don't like, even if you do care for them. It's like you care for them so much that you're willing to lie to keep them in your life. And I want to mention again, there's no concrete solution to just being able to simply stand up for yourself or be able to just simply disagree or say no. And I want to say, of course, be open-minded about other opinions, because you could always be in the wrong for things that you don't fully understand. But honestly, it's, again, very subjective depending on the topic of discussion and a disagreement. Sometimes it could be serious. Sometimes it could just be you don't like pie, somebody else likes cake. More food. It could be someone doesn't like, let me not go into more food. But sometimes you just have to be like, well, I know you don't like pie, but I do. So we're just not going to see eye to eye on that. But there's a million topics again. I'm not going to cover all of them. But at the same time, when you're in that people-pleasing mindset, it genuinely is difficult to not just simply back down and say no and defend your point. Like, defending your own point, and some things aren't even worth defending. Like, some discussions aren't even worth having if it's really silly or it's just not worth it. But there are going to be times in your life where you do need to speak up for yourself or kind of defend your point and have a debate. Not every disagreement has to become a full-blown yelling match argument, especially when you're an adult and you know better. So eventually you're going to have to defend your point at some point in your life. So it's better to at least try to learn now than later. At least how to be able to not be too much of a people pleaser and just let people walk all over you. But saying no, sometimes when you're defending yourself, especially when you're used to being a people pleaser and being a person that was known as being too nice, and those are the only terms I'm known for. There's nothing wrong with being nice. Again, I'm going to keep saying that. But saying no sometimes and then defending yourself feels like it's a fucking, like, you're doing a American Ninja Warrior obstacle course. Like, all of a sudden, you have to deal with the other person's rebuttal. And even if it's the tiniest thing in the world you're talking about, or the tiniest little rebuttal, you just feel this sudden pressure out of nowhere, or at least in my context. I'm sure other people can relate, but in my context, I just feel a sudden pressure out of nowhere. And I would start getting jittery or fidgety out of nowhere because now where I'm uncomfortable, and I shouldn't be, but I am. And it becomes really hard to process my own thoughts. And so the initial habit is to try to find ways to compromise so you can just exit the argument or just have them or agree with them or just exit the argument entirely. And there's nothing wrong with just agreeing to disagree. But again, you're going to have to, as they say now, stand on business for your beliefs at some point. Or else you're just going to be so easy to gaslight that you end up just gaslighting yourself, and you become like somebody could probably just convince you that your name's Bob now if you feel pressured enough. Point is, while being the nice, neutral, and always agreeable person may seem like it benefits everybody, it's also a double-edged sword. And you have to recognize what things in your life that you value and agree on and disagree on, because you know better than anybody, regardless of like how timid you are, what you like, what you believe in, and what you're willing to stand for and what you're not willing to stand for. But also be able to be open-minded. Don't just say no just to say no. Have a reason behind that. Be able to discuss things when you disagree with somebody and recognize that not every little disagreement is a battle, but the person you're talking to may be somebody you care about, for example, and you can both potentially see eye to eye or be on the same page or at least agree to disagree and move on. But if they're truly someone worth keeping in your life, then it's not something to stay stuck on. Not every disagreement you have to stay stuck on forever. But you have to realize that not everybody is going to see eye to eye with you. Not everybody will like you. Not everybody will be your friend or be able to stay your friend or want what's best for you. So why give them power over you? Some people you grow out of. And going back to the fidgeting thing, like I've gotten better at it now, but I still struggle with it. I can consciously tell in my brain that this is a simple discussion that just because me and another person don't agree with it, it's fine. But I give my rebuttal and they give theirs, and hopefully we can easily see eye to eye, agree or disagree, or just simply just both just bring our points. And it can get heated and passionate, and not heated in a way where it's yelling, but more so, you know, when you're like talking to somebody and you're very interested in the topic and you start just like getting excited, it could definitely get like that. But ultimately, in a lot of cases, it's not worth making it a huge deal in a lot of arguments, and that's still subjective. Don't get me wrong. There's still topics that are a lot deeper than that. But again, this is not trying to go into every single topic in the world. I can't cover that in a small 15, 20-minute video. No, nor will I try that. But while my brain recognizes that this is not a discussion or argument that really needs to be taken that seriously or that far, my body doesn't recognize it. And so going to the fidgeting, I'll just be talking and then my hands just start shaking because I said no, and suddenly I feel pressure for no reason. And it's not even the other person, not even the other person's rebuttal, but it's me putting pressure on myself unintentionally to be correct in like their eyes. And then the first reaction used to be to like blurt out something to either change the subject and agree. But now I take my time and think about my response. And sure, there may be a little pause. Like my brain's kind of slow when it comes to debates. I won't be long. And because of how I've been just simply agreeing and not really thinking for myself, then of course, since I'm not used to it, my brain's going to be a little slow when it comes to that. But I'd rather pause and say I need to think before I answer this question and give a response that I feel comfortable with, or at least just admit that I'm stumped at the moment, than to come up with a response and pretend that I agree with them and basically lie to myself and them about a subject instead of actually giving my honest to goodness response. And it's not about winning or losing. Once you understand that, it starts to make more sense. At least to me, it did. But it's so hard. It's so hard when you're used to being a people pleaser and being so timid all the time and being so easily not manipulated, but being so easily swayed to try to look good in their eyes and not to yourself. And to all the people who've been people pleasers, or people who've been too timid and rejected by everybody and who've had no confidence in themselves for a long time, it's not simply going to be as easy just snapping your fingers and, damn, that was a good one, woo, and be an expert at communication, physically and mentally. Like, that shit takes a lot of time and thought. You really have to think about who you are as a person, what you stand for. Be about yourself and not the people. Like, oh dang, I messed that up. Dang. Well, train of thought. be like more about yourself and be about the people that care for you, but don't be a liar by being too nice. Because again, when you lie to people just to agree with them, you also lie to yourself and you lie to them. And just ironically, that's not really being nice. And in reality, you're really being shitty to yourself. It's self-deprecating behavior. And it's a coping mechanism, and it's detrimental because it will make you less confident in yourself and your responses and your beliefs and views and honestly anything that you think of. So honestly, stand on business for things that you won't budge on, but also stay open-minded on things you don't fully understand, and be able to recognize when it's worth having, like even having a discussion on something in the first place, and try to be present in the moment. And again, it's going to be hard to do, but those are the facts that if you take the time to think about yourself and reaffirm who you are, what you like and dislike, what you dream of, things that you just want to do, then it's a baby step closer to being able to be better at communicating. Because discussions and debates are just another form of communication that we all need to do at some point. Confrontation isn't always negative, but lying to yourself to others is. And again, I say it and again a lot too. Wow. Self-reflection. But it probably stems from somewhere in your life. I can't say this for everybody, but I can say it for me, where you've probably been rejected, probably like a lot, just haven't included, people never liked you, you never made a lot of friends, and you just haven't really been socialized like a lot of people do. And not everybody has the same situation. Not everybody can be the popular kid or just the freaking neurotypical person. Like, a lot of my advice goes out to all my neurodivergents who just aren't used to it, have bad ADHD, bad anxiety, bad depression. Me, I'm definitely 2,000%. You can hear how I talk. I am not neurotypical by any stretch of the imagination. And that's fucking okay. Because I'm still learning not how to be normal, but how to be a good me and be good to myself and be good to others. By not lying. But with that being said, don't be the quote unquote too nice person, but remember to still be nice. And I will never ever abandon my life motto that it's nice to be nice. But just because you disagree with somebody or stand up for your own beliefs and your point doesn't suddenly make you an asshole. Like, it's okay. And the people that shun you for disagreeing about yourself or caring about yourself or doing things in your life that benefit you more, those people were never about you to begin with. And honestly, that's how you weed people out of your life that don't need to be there to begin with the negative energy. Like, if you made plans with somebody and suddenly had to cancel them due to a family emergency, and they suddenly just reject you as a friend because they suddenly don't think you support them, even though you had a valid reason to leave, then honestly, let them go. Shit. Like, like you're not going to call me your enemy just because my mom needed to be checked on. Like, no. But again, with that being said, this is Trent from No Nut Clarity. Be good to yourself and be good to others. And happy Pride Month. Take care and peace.